For July the 12th, 2024, we talk about Zenless Zone Zero, Chants of Senaar, Thronefall, and much more. Welcome to level 507. My name is Cole Ross.
I'm Moxie.
I'm Ben Merkel.
And you're listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. We are back. No, we were here last week. Sorry, I'm all mixed up here. Ben, you are back. It has been a long time. It's one of the longest gaps we've had.
I know. I've lived an entire life outside of the podcast. I went to Vegas for vacation. I got COVID. I went hiking. I celebrated Midsummer.
Huh. You got COVID?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. That's time number 2 for you?
It is, yeah. And I got boosted back in March, too. So I was very surprised by that. But it ended up being pretty fine, though, pretty mild. And I tested clear within 5 days, which is half the time as the first time. So all that was good. But
yeah. Okay. How was Vegas?
Vegas was fun. We were celebrating my brother's 40th birthday. And so, it was weird being back there since I used to live there. I don't miss the hot weather, that's for sure. But I got to see some old friends there. So that was really nice. And yeah. Cool.
And then you got home just in time. You got home just in time for a heat wave. That's right.
We're at the tail end right now, so I will appreciate when that's gone.
Womp. Yeah. Well, that's cool. How Midsummer, are these the same friends that you celebrated with before?
Yeah, they do it every year. They live in Portland, and I think the past couple of years I usually go down and help set it up, and so it's a fun time. This was the first year that I made a flower crown. It was very poorly made. I think I'll know better for next year, but it was a good time though.
Cool. Did you make it have actual flowers?
Yeah. Yep. They are excellent hosts, and I helped set up the flower bin even. So they're beautiful flowers.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's this gets into the weeds, but there was a weird meta where there's only 2 sunflowers though. So it's who's going to take those, or who's going to have the confidence to feel like they deserve the sunflowers at this party?
I would trust the sunflower to the one who is most skilled at weaving their crown. It seems like that would balance things off, and it would throw off the balance easily. And also that stalk would be very hard to account for.
Mm-hmm.
See, meanwhile, here in Alabama, we just use plastic flowers and hot glue guns.
The Southwest, taken out of the Southwest page book thing.
Yeah. Moxie, how about you? What's going on?
Not too much. Just got back from visiting family and friends in Mansfield. So
we went and got lunch. It was fun.
Nice.
Yeah, went and got lunch after 5 tries.
I was very surprised at how many Mexican restaurants were closed on the 4th of July at lunchtime. I'm surprised that any restaurants are closed during lunchtime on a holiday like that. We ended up going to get some Chinese. So
nice.
It was good. Yeah.
Had a real good time.
Yeah. How was the rest of your visit? Like any 4th of July festivities kind of things?
Yeah. Went down and visited my cousins. They've got a hobby farm down near Columbus, and then some bunch of people from the church I grew up in got together. Their neighbor actually fires off $30,000 to $40,000 in fireworks each year.
What?
What?
30? Yeah, just a
salary.
That's a municipal amount of fireworks.
Exactly. Yeah, it was basically a municipal firework display, except just some person.
That's too much money for a person to have.
Yeah. Why don't you give that to a teacher every year?
Yeah, it's crazy. And Guy won't take apparently won't take donations and stuff like that. Crazy. I guess he's does something with the military. I don't know, but
okay.
Will he take advice about how he spends his money, or
how resources are being allocated?
As you do.
Yeah. Huh. Well, it was nice seeing you. Anyway.
Had a good time.
Yeah. For me, like, I don't know, it feels weird to be celebrating the 4th of July given the circumstances, but I had a lot of good family time over the weekend. Yeah.
I felt like for me this was like celebrating the last year of American democracy.
Yeah, it's the going away tour. It is both being taken away and thrown away. Which is fun and not at all infuriating. So no, but I had good and a good time with some family. I hosted a host of folks over at my house for a little bonfire to watch my city's fireworks. Nothing too much happening on that front. Dennis is on vacation, and Jala is recovering from Hurricane Beryl. She is safe and her family is safe, but her power's out.
Yeah.
So she was going to join us, but she is unable to, which is a bummer, but we soldier on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Not a huge fan of the whole like Texas just anytime literally anything happens, it's like 10 billion people without power.
Yeah. Which is weird because 10 billion people don't live in Texas.
Yeah,
It just shows. Just shows how turbo fucked we are. Sorry, I'm very pessimistic right now.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I think I would be worried if you were not.
Am I going to have to fill in for the voice of optimism this episode?
I hope not. I'm not going to make anybody do that. I think we should talk about video games though, by doing the regular kind of show with the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. And we can get started with The Grind. The Grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the last period of time or so. Ben, you have been away the longest, so I will defer to you to go first.
Yeah, I've been somewhat busy while I've been away, so at least I have things to talk about, and so we'll basically stop whenever we feel like I've talked too long. So I've been picking up a lot of stuff on Steam sale too, which ends for us in 2 days as of the time we're recording. But yeah, 2 games that I had picked up from that I wanted to talk about is the first one is a game called Thronefall, which is in early access. It's like a tower defense type game that has like pretty good gameplay to it. The loop of it is you have a certain amount of money, you spend it to build either towers or income type buildings for your base, and your base kind of is this kind of old timey medieval like town structure. And then there are waves of enemies that come at night that you have to defend against. And so the loop is during the day, there's no time pressure, you build whatever you want to build, you figure out how to allocate your money, and then at night you have to survive a wave. And they'll like in like Slay the Spire, how the enemy's attacks are broadcasted. They'll tell you how many enemies are coming and where they're coming from, so you can try and make your defenses around that. And they have a pretty good varied amount of enemy types that do different types of damage. Like some are super effective against buildings, others are like slow but really hard to take down, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And then likewise, the defenses you make are kind of they have similar differentiation in there, what their strengths are. You can build individual units like archers or swords people, and you can literally tell them to defend points on the map. Or you can build static towers that stay in one spot, but their range can be increased, that sort of thing. Another really fun part of this is you choose perks at the beginning of any run, so that you have like 2 to 3 different like buffs, where it's like, say your units attack better, your towers attack better, that sort of thing. You start off with more money. And so the game's very customizable, and you can kind of go a couple different directions with what your strategy is. So it makes for pretty fun gameplay. Have you guys seen or heard of this before by any chance?
No, I've not at all.
This looks really cool, kind of combination builder. Yeah. My question is, like, how do you get resources between waves, right? Like, are you also building are you building resource buildings in order to get that and trying to maintain that and keep your economy going?
Yeah. So basically when you build something, you basically have two choices. You're either building something that makes your defense stronger, or you're building something that gives you more income the next round. So the most simple example is like you can build houses for people. And what a house does is gives you 1 gold if it survives the wave, every wave. And so it's an income building as long as you protect it. And so there's kind of the balance where it's like you can overextend on income buildings, but if they all get leveled during the wave, then you don't get any money for the next round. So it's kind of a moot point. You have like a home house where if that's destroyed, your run ends immediately and like you're done. So that is like the most critical goal, is making sure that doesn't get destroyed. So that's kind of how it breaks down. And then there's different levels to all the buildings that you have, like the turrets, the houses, those sorts of things. And when you upgrade your home building, you basically pick a perk to that building, and it kind of drastically changes what your strategy for the game is. So for example, one of them can be your character now has like 100% more health and does 100% more damage. Or it could be something like an economy thing where it's like, I'm going to level your main building's going to upgrade a house like after every round to a level 2 house, and that'll give you more money.
Okay.
And then within that, outside of that, like turrets themselves, you can upgrade those to level 2 and to level 3, but it costs increase in gold to do so. And they become more differentiated. So you can have like a sniper tower that has longer range but fires slower, or you can build like a what's it called, like a bunker, where it's like has very limited range but can take a lot of damage. So yeah, there's a lot of differentiation, so that there's a lot of different sort of strategy you can do. And you can completely ignore turrets in this game if you want. You can just focus on perks and buffs to like your main character, and you can just run around and kill all the waves like individually if you want, and you can do that route. And so sometimes that can be successful, but it depends on what your loadout is and like how you upgrade things. So yeah. And it should be said, the aesthetic of this is very like cutesy, minimalist, like color palette, but it's very like bright colors. And I think there's maybe 6 different levels that you go through. I will say the only like faint criticism I have of it is the waves are fixed per map. So if you play a map, it's going to be the same people coming from the same places every time you play through it, which is fine. But it gets a little bit predictable. And you kind of start making the same choices over and over, run after run. But yeah, it's still a good ride. I think the game's pretty cheap. I think it's like $10 or less on Steam. And I think I played it until I beat every map. And then I felt like satisfied enough to kind of take a pause in it. But yeah, since it's still early access, like I'm excited to see it do a full release and see, I don't know, where it goes from there. But even if it doesn't add anything to what I've currently played, I'm pretty happy with it. So
yeah, that looks really cool. It's been a while since I've seen like a new tower defense game. That is a genre that seems like it's been dormant for a while. Yeah,
I think everyone kind of blew their load on it in the early 2010s. So
yeah.
I'm gonna move right along if there are no more questions about Thronefall.
I do not.
Another game that I played over the break is a game called Chants of Senaar.
The language learning adventure puzzle game.
Yeah, I had seen this a while ago, so it had been on my wish list for a while. But yeah, I finally picked it up because of the summer sale and gave it a try and really enjoyed it. The premise of this is kind of odd. It's basically a retelling of the story of Babel, or the Tower of Babel, where there's a giant tower that you're progressing up in the game, and at each level is a different like culture of people that are somehow narratively related to the building of this tower, and you're trying to learn the language of these people while you're there. And so what that involves is kind of walking around their town, their civilization, reading signs, talking to people. But whenever you talk to people or read signs, you just see like kind of like a cryptic symbol of some kind that's related to their language. And kind of over the course of exploring the map, you'll slowly figure out like word by word. They have a really good system where at any time you can click on a symbol and you can write a note for yourself where you're like,
that's great.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And what happens is when you talk to someone, it'll put whatever that note is in like a differentiated text to show that it's like your guess of what it means. So for example, it'll be like, oh, I think this means falling. So I'm going to put fall or lose or like /lose in my note. And then like when they say a sentence, they're like, oh yeah, that person fall /lose over there or something like that. And you're like, okay, that might mean this. And so it's like a really helpful, they do a good job of giving you tools to like help figure things out like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to say too much towards like the back half of the game, but this I had a really fun run through with this. It takes like maybe 9 or 10 hours to beat. I will say it gets maybe a little bit slow in the back half where you kind of see where it's going and it takes a little bit of time to get there. But it's a very, very small criticism. Like I definitely enjoyed the ride of this game. So much so that I like beat it in like 1 or 2 sittings.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is like, you know, there's plenty of games like this where, it's like learning a language. I feel like we've probably talked about other ones on here.
Yeah, this is one that came up when I was talking about Tunic for Watch Out for Fireballs.
Okay.
That's another game where it's not necessary to learn the language, but I found it very rewarding to do so.
I didn't realize that the language in Tunic was actually a language.
Yep, it is decipherable. And it is really satisfying to do it.
And
I found it anyway. Yeah.
One thing that's really cool about this too is like how they design like the grammar of each of the languages that you decipher as well, because they have their own idiosyncrasies and they're also reinforced by the style of the culture that you're learning about. So for example, like if a culture is very like militaristic, they might have very like gruff language and very like stark shapes to the letters that they're drawing. So they do a good job of that, of like reinforcing the culture through what the text looks like and how it's expressed. So yeah, I think this is a French studio that made this game. I'm basing that solely on the names in the credits, so I could be wrong, and I'm too lazy to look it up. But yeah, but I would definitely say this is worth your time. Again, I think this is maybe like $20 on Steam or somewhere around there. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I definitely think it's worth your time, especially if you like games like this.
So it's good to hear that there are multiple languages, that like each level kind of has its own. Are the languages, are they differentiated in terms of whether stuff is spelled phonetically, if you're working with like ideograms where each symbol works out to a word? Or is it just like literally every variation on what these could, on how a language could be constructed through symbols?
I don't want to say too much about it to not spoil anything about it, but in vague terms, I'll say that the rules of the language make sense based on the culture that you're seeing. Okay. And so they all have their own kind of unique facets to them. That makes sense when you see like the culture that you're in.
And then the grammar is differentiated as well, not just how the sounds are composed by the symbols that are there. Yeah,
I'll give you simple examples, like how you ask a question or how you do a plural of something, like things like this. Different language will tackle those with different rules. So.
like verb, noun order, noun, adjective order, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's
You're making
pretty
this
cool.
game sound really cool to me.
Yeah. Honestly, when I was playing it, I was like, yeah, this would be good for a Friday stream, even though it's not horror related at all. Maybe you could talk about how not being able to communicate with people would be very scary. So
It is. Yeah.
I
if you ever want to
mean,
justify it.
the high school class I probably have the most horror about is definitely Spanish.
I mean, that was the teacher, though. She was pretty intense. So this is where we're wandering into the fact that Moxie and I grew up together.
Yep.
And oh no, not just the high school one, but our middle school teacher was real. She was real judgmental. I'm sure she was nice, but yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure if these people are alive or dead.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's not to get like real weird, but like that's a super weird feeling.
I just found out that I think maybe our third grade teacher moved in across the street from my mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which is weird. I've not seen her again yet, but yeah.
This was years ago, but I made the mistake of looking up my kindergarten teacher on social media, and I was like, "Oh, you aged. You're not supposed to do that."
No. Wouldn't it be weird if you just like walked up to them and they were proportionally as tall compared to you as they were
when
back
you were a
then?
kid. Yeah.
Lady Demescu style.
Yes. Huh. Let's see. I want to. I think you can do another one. I don't have another.
Yeah.
I don't have any more questions about this because this sounds like something I want to do. I don't know if it's going to be one
Yeah,
that
it
I bring
just
to
sounds
WAF,
pretty
but
sweet.
yeah, this just sounds like a cool ass game that is
Yeah.
just in the and that interface concession is good too because like decoding stuff in Tunic, like I filled up a lot of a notebook doing that.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, one of my like low-key games I would love to see is a game that did like a Star Trek pastiche where it was about, the communicators are broken, like here's this first contact, figure out what the heck they're saying.
Yeah.
All right. Do you guys want a VR one or a non-VR one?
I want to hear about some VR.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
I've been playing a game called The Last Clockwinder.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it's both on PC and like other VR platforms. I'm playing it on the PlayStation.
Is this a Swiss game?
No, it's like a weird science fiction-y game. I mean, I'll talk about the narrative, but I don't think you're really there for the narrative. But the premise is like you're on this like ocean planet that kind of has this giant like tree, sort of like Gaia type thing that's like keeping the planet alive. And it's kind of like this they call it The Last Clockwinder because like this was operating kind of like a clock where there's a bunch of like kind of old-timey steampunky like valves and like chutes and like things floating around, and it's kind of all been like decrepit and like left to rot over the course of decades. And so you're coming back to this planet to kind of turn everything back on and get the planet to come back to life essentially. So that's the narrative part of the game, but you can kind of take that or leave that. The gameplay of the game is that it's kind of like a what's it called, like Miracle Machine or
the Incredible Machine. So you're like trying to build mechanisms?
Yes, but the way you do that is the core mechanic of the game is you have these gloves where when you press a button, it'll record your actions, and then at the end of the recording, a robot will spawn and will do those exact actions as you recorded it. And so you can do a 1, a 2, or a 4-second loop of this, and it'll just loop the animation over and over again. And then mostly what you're dealing with is there are different types of like fruits or vegetation that you can like pluck off the vine and they'll regrow in a matter of time. And then there's different like spike stations where you can like jam the fruit in that and then connect other things to it. And you're basically making these like molecule type things. So kind of like what you're doing in Opus Magnum. Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't get as complicated as that. It's more like simple. But you're trying to transport all these things from the plant stations where they're at into some sort of receptacle, some sort of chute. And then what's cool about it is like you kind of have like an infinite number of robots you can spawn, I think. Or I've never hit an upper limit. I'm sure they probably stop it at like, I don't know, 20 or something like that. Yeah. But after you chain a bunch of these together, you're making this giant machine that is, doing one step at a time, but then transforming, like all these kind of raw components into these molecules that are paid off and then will increase some sort of resource that you're getting. And what's cool is this will happen even after you leave the level and go to a different one. So like basically it'll measure what your throughput is of like how often you're creating this, and it'll passively add that as like income to like the resources that you generate. And then basically use the resources you generate to unlock additional levels and continue on the game. So mostly why I like it is I haven't experienced this like mechanic in a VR game before. So the part of you like recording these steps and it being able to play it back well and then creating this like chain of a machine. And I think it lends itself really, really well to VR. Because kind of like the emergent mechanics of it is like, you have a deadline of you're either doing 1, 2, or 4 seconds. And like, since the fruits will kind of replenish every like 1 second or every 2 seconds, if you want to start being like satisfactory brained about this and like
that's what I'm doing in my head. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Like maximize efficiency. What you're doing is like, all right, I'm going to do a 1 second loop. I'm going to jam this in and I'm just going to throw it to that side of the room and I'm going to take care of wherever it lands. And so it's like, you just do the one step and then you'll spawn a robot on the other side of the room, catch where you threw it, and then do something else to it and then throw it somewhere else. Yeah. And so you have this like really fun chain of events. And it's just fun to do that sort of thing in VR where it's like, you're moving around and trying to throw things and catch things.
Yeah. So this makes, it sounds pretty cool regardless, but this makes even more sense when I remember, it's in VR.
Yes.
And then just going around and being in perspective as one of these things and then stepping back to see it all work together in order to like troubleshoot it.
Yeah.
This sounds really fun.
Yeah. It's and it's something I think it's great because it's something that you can't really do in a non-VR game, or it'd be like really wonky, I guess, if you were. So this is like, I think, a great application for the hardware and for the platform. So, I'm not done with it yet, but I'm getting towards the end, and I think I've gotten to like close to the last level. But we'll see. How they mix it up is they start introducing kind of new elements that you combine with one another that'll have new rules to it. So, for example, like one of them is like a gel where it'll stick to the end of a stick, but basically if anything touches it, it'll burst and fall apart. So you can't really touch it directly. You have to try and modify it by some other means. And then there's some where it's like they'll give you like a knife, like a station that has like a knife to it. And you might have to cut things off the vine and then throw things around from that. Some of the fun things that you can do with this is if you're really trying to optimize things, like say you jam a fruit into a spike and you want to throw it to another station. What you can do is you can try and throw it spike first so that it hits the fruit. And it's fine if that's the end of the loop. Someone else down the line can pick it up, but you've like saved a step for the next person, I guess.
Yeah.
So, and since you're recording, like you can record and delete whatever you record pretty quickly. It's basically the gameplay is you have an idea about what you want to do and you keep recording it until you get it exactly. Because like there's a little bit of a push to try and do this as few robots as you can. So for example, like throwing things underhand into like whatever the receptacle is at the end might be like the final thing you record. And getting one might be easy, but doing two in a row might be a little bit more tricky. So you might record this like 20 times until you do. But then once you do, you're like, yes, this is like the perfect machine.
So there's an element of performance to it too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, it's pretty fun. Faint criticism on it is one of the fruits is kind of tied heavily to physics, and I've seen it kind of go out of sync because it requires like maybe, I don't know, 10 robots to transport it around. Ooh. And some of the physics might not be 100% repeatable on the robot loops.
They're not deterministic. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm not exactly sure why it is. I don't know if it has something to do with it, like differences in when the starting and stopping is, or like the fruit replenishings at a different cadence as what your time loop is. But I can't really justify it, or I haven't really figured out why it goes out of sync like that, other than the game just not working. So. Anyway, outside of that, though, it's a pretty enjoyable game. If you're looking for something to do in VR, I think it's a good thing to try out. So
yeah. Like weird little plot twist on this. The publisher on this is Cyan Ventures. Cyan. That's Myst. That's the people who make Myst.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
I mean, I really would have expected them more on the learn a random language game.
The Myst contains multitudes. Yeah.
Or just make a Myst game
in
VR.
They just put out. Well, yeah, but they also did the remake of Riven, which I desperately need to play because apparently adds a lot and also has a VR mode to it. So
that's dope.
So basically it is a game that is absolutely 100% made for me, and it came out at the worst possible time. I had never heard about this, The Last Clockwinder. That sounds really fun. VR puzzle games are kind of in short supply. Mm-hmm. Almost everything when I look on a store, like, oh, it's a VR. Okay. Oh, cool. VR game. And then you look and you see, this is, a wave-based arena fighter, multiplayer co-op. It's like, fuck, man. I
would have just expected them all to be hentai games.
Oh my.
I've not seen a lot of that.
I think there's a wall to the PlayStation Store that insulates me from that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I keep forgetting that not everyone's on Steam.
Yes. I've not seen a lot of VR porn games, but I do believe that I would believe that they exist. Yeah.
I'll report back in August when I have a PC adapter, I guess.
So you're planning on getting that?
Oh yeah, in the Steam Summer Sale, I already bought Half-Life Alyx for $20. So
nice.
Yes,
cool. All three of these games sound really neat to me. Mm-hmm. I think you picked good.
Yeah.
Thronefall, Chants of Senaar, and The Last Clockwinder. Huh. Let's see, Moxie. How about you?
Yeah, so I've got something a little new. I checked out Zenless Zone Zero.
Oh, the new gacha game.
Yes, yeah. This is the new game from the people that made Genshin Impact.
Oh, I didn't realize it was the same company.
Yep, same company. So this is basically whereas Genshin Impact was, very fantasy and Breath of the Wild inspired. This one is much more of kind of a street fashion aesthetic, set in kind of sort of modern day, except that alternate dimensional rifts started opening up in the world and caused everything to collapse, and you live in the last remaining city where you are a person who guides teams into these rifts, both to maybe protect people or stuff like that, but more importantly, to get lots of treasure.
Yeah.
And the actual gameplay is basically a spectacle fighter, like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry.
Okay. How does that work out when one of the main ways to play these is mobile? I associate a spectacle fighter with like tactile intricacy. Like you need kind of buttons to do that in my head.
Yeah, I have no idea. I pretend that mobile games don't exist.
I guess I mean, like, are you actually doing like combo based kind of stuff with your inputs, or is there stuff that feels like it's on like autopilot? Like, I press a button and it dials the combo in, and then I'm trying to like figure out how to string those together.
Sure. So, you've got you've got your basic combo, and all of them that I've seen are fairly simple. So, like, one of the melee characters, it's basically a 3 or 4 strike combo, and then if you either insert a pause between the last strike, or like just hold on down the last strike, it does a kind of a power combo.
Okay.
But then you also have a dodge, so it's got with iframes, and then a lot of it is you're either you have a special attack, and you're either just using that for damage, or you can basically charge it up. But then a lot of the gameplay, and I think this is kind of both where some of the gacha element gets in and where the gameplay gets a little bit more complicated, is when you stun an enemy, you can activate a team attack.
Okay.
And so you're going in with teams of, from what I've seen, 3 characters. And when you activate one of these team attacks, either from dodging a kind of a telegraphed attack, or by, like I said, stunning an enemy, you choose which of the other characters you want to come in and deliver this team attack. But then, most notably, you then stay as that character.
It sounds like Marvel versus Capcom.
I've not played that a lot, but yeah, from what I've heard, it sounds like that.
Yeah.
So I think what probably would be for someone who's a fan of action, or whatever this genre, stylish action games, is probably the individual characters are fairly basic in terms of their input, but there's more sophistication with the fact that you're switching between characters. That being said, I did check in with someone on one of the discords that's into that genre, and she was not super impressed with it. So this could be a game that's kind of going more for mass market appeal, as opposed to really catering to people that are fans of this genre.
So that's weird, because I only know of 3 gacha games like this, and 2 of them came out in the past 3 months. It's basically like Genshin, this, and Wuthering Waves is one that I also saw, which is also weirdly an Epic Games exclusive, it appears. Yeah, so like it. When you say it's going like for mass market appeal, it's like, okay, they're trying to make this to try and get people into gacha games.
Well, I guess also what I mean is like, my understanding is that a lot of the platinum games, stuff like that, are fairly niche in terms of most of the market is people that like platinum games, so they tend to be very difficult and very sophisticated.
Okay, so this one's a little bit more kid gloves, play school kind of thing.
Yeah, again, I am not a big connoisseur of this genre, so I could be totally off base, but that's kind of the idea I get.
So it's not the gacha part that's being made into a mass market kind of thing. It is they're taking the spectacle fighter kind of appearance and simplifying it for people who want a casual gacha style experience.
Right, exactly.
Which clarify, like, I don't know. I've never played one of these games before, but like gacha game, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just like, it's more about the meta structure, which is one of your primary rewards through gameplay, but also you can have direct input is, via money, is random chances to get characters to use. Yeah.
And this also, that's not something I've really deeply engaged in. My understanding is a big part of it is, there's things where, there'll be, certain kind of reward pools that will be there for a limited time, or things where it's like, after 5 or 10 pulls or whatever, if you don't get a max rarity item, you're guaranteed to get one on the next pull.
Right.
And so, like, my understanding is there is some degree to which the gameplay is kind of trying to min-max the odds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but my understanding is that's a thing.
I mean, it's kind of like how every pack of trading cards that you buy has at least one rare in it.
Right, exactly.
With
that, these games, kind of live or die by their characters, as you might suggest. And this one, at least to my eyes, is, I think, particularly interesting.
I mean, they definitely have an aesthetic, and it's pretty clear kind of who they're aiming at. Like, I do see a straps and chains kind of maid lady with a fetish outfit and what appears to be a dragon's tail.
Shark tail, actually.
Shark tail.
But
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's one of the, in my opinion, one of the more entertaining ideas. Kind of the premise again is that these are teams of, kind of specialists that, kind of mercenary companies that are hired out to, explore these hollows. But there's sort of different premises on what these companies ostensibly, what their job is.
Okay.
So, one of the factions, there are some that are just like, hey, this is military, or here's the scrappy adventurers. Mm-hmm. But one of the factions is a heavy construction company.
Okay.
And so all your weapons are nail guns and wrenches and shit like that. Mm-hmm. The one you're seeing, they are ostensibly a maid service.
Okay.
But the thing that I actually kind of like about them is all of their characters are based on horror motifs.
Okay.
So, there's the shark kind of Jaws lady. There's a creepy dog girl. There's a werewolf. I think a Frankenstein type character, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. If nothing else, it's silly and entertaining. And like I said, the fashion is very on point. Mm-hmm. The thing that, in my opinion, is probably the best part of this is the aesthetic is very VHS kind of era, so I guess kind of aughts inspired.
Okay.
So one of the things they do to kind of streamline things is, unlike Genshin Impact, this is not a open world game.
Okay, so it's mission based. You're literally going on dives or runs, right?
Right, but then the actual exploring the world is you're basically seeing this sort of maze made out of where almost like a board game, where each square in the board game is a CRT TV.
Okay,
and as you're going along, certain ones have different rewards. Certain ones have combat. And so it's the thing where you're exploring around, and then when you enter combat, it will either be an arena, kind of an arena fight against, a number of enemies, or a boss fight. But doesn't have the Devil May Cry or Bayonetta where you're actually playing through a level.
Okay.
Overall, I think that potentially works to its favor. Like I said, the aesthetic is really cool. Mm-hmm. And that actually extends into the non-dive portion where your character's day job is running a video rental store.
Okay.
And so you have there's a like day-night cycle that advances when you run missions. And before that, you're given like, hey, based on whatever's going on or whatever, here are the genres that people are in the mood to see, and you have to decide what to stock your store with.
Oh, weird.
Are they actual movies?
Yeah, exactly. And you have to do like side missions in order to unlock new movies. I've actually not gone much into this, but my understanding is that there's actually a lot of just random stuff you can do in the city, just like running chores for people and stuff.
Huh.
It almost sounds like a much more simple version of like a Yakuza game.
I mean, this is specifically the chore angle is making this, and the aesthetic makes this feel like a No More Heroes kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know, with the like the movie fascination kind of stuff and the chores and yeah.
I was gonna say I was lost with the anime waifus, but a movie like VCR rental sim, I'm all about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do love. From what I've seen so far, like all of the movies, you're just kind of given the movie poster, and it's very much kind of I don't know how you describe it, kind of that era, like what I would associate with like Japanese, movie posters.
Okay.
So like, what I would expect from like the poster of like a Godzilla movie or something.
Yeah. So to Ben's question earlier, he asked if this is if they're actual movies. No, they are. These are like pastiches,
homages. Right? Yeah.
Homages,
right. There is from what I've seen, a fair amount of like. You will see, in the backgrounds or as you're going through town, like, short animations that are kind of a bunch of different, like, movies and stuff that are kind of evocative of it. The same way, I don't know, like Helldivers has kind of some of the short, commercials or, those sorts of things. So I think you'll see some of that. Mm-hmm. But nothing real significant.
Yeah.
Overall I'm finding that kind of tone to be just kind of a lot of fun. It's got a very, very happy-go-lucky kind of dialogue and story, that sort of thing. I think I'll give it a shot. I'm not sure it's going to be something I'm going to, really get into, but, it seems kind of fun.
Do you plan to put money into it, or are you just going to see what you can get with house money?
I am hoping not to put money into it.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah.
It seems bold that they made the initials of the game Z's.
Oh, yeah. Challenging people to play our game, Snores. Yeah.
I do have to say this gets into apropos of, well, I guess almost nothing. One of my weird bucket list items is, do you remember as a kid, there's the vending machines, and they always had on the front these like really cool things you could theoretically get. And there's like one of them in the machine and a bunch of crappy stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the like literal gachapon kind of deals.
Right,
the
exactly.
Bubble machines. Yeah.
One of the things on my like, I don't know if you'd say bucket list or just like as an adult, sometime I just want to get like $100 in quarters and just empty one of those machines until I get the best prize.
I can't remember
now.
I can't remember the last time I've seen one of those. I think the last one that I saw was like a literal gacha machine, like in a GameStop, like the Japanese style. Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a ramen place in town that has one that's like Pokemon toys and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's the problem is I feel like those probably give fairly decent prizes, and for like this to work, it needs to be a bunch of crappy prizes and like one good thing.
Yeah.
Like the point is not to get anything. The point is to beat the machine.
Yes, the point is to get the one golden ultimate muscle character.
I think the jig is up on machines when they have like an iPhone in there. I'm like, well, there's no way you can win that.
Yeah. It's hard to variations on claw games. It feels like a racket to me. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So don't worry, it only affects kids.
Yeah, don't. That's fine. It only attracts kids. What else you got besides Zenless Zone Zero?
So I played the new mission in Warframe. I think the most interesting thing about this considers or continues a theme where inexplicably the primary theme of Warframe turns out to be parenthood.
Okay.
Which is just very weird for a game about space ninjas.
I mean, I don't know. I was going to reference an ongoing Twitter madness where people are trying to deny that Bloodborne has anything to do thematically with the idea of femininity or motherhood. Like chuds are out here trying to say like that's not there. Yeah. So I think that I don't know. I was trying to tie it back into that, but I would not be surprised that that Warframe has some of that going on.
Yeah. So overall, it's a fairly short story. Kind of the big interesting thing for it is you play pretty much all of it as one of the game's kind of pseudo villains.
Okay.
Which is interesting. It's also, I think, I'm interested to see where it goes with one of the characters it introduces, because I guess this is kind of spoilers. Basically, with the parenthood angle, one of the main villains is like this lady who's basically kind of a upper and coming with the like hyper corporate capitalism faction.
Okay,
that's one of the main enemies, and is kind of chasing you for the through the whole thing. But then, like, right at the end, literally, like, the last 5 minutes of the mission, when she finds out that, like, hey, kids might get hurt, just, like, calls everything off.
Okay.
And so I'm interested to see, because it's a very sudden, kind of, like, with heel face turn on a, from a faction that really doesn't do that much. So I'm interested to see where they're going with that.
It's like, oh, you've shown that you value something outside of shareholder value.
Right. Yeah. And it's literally like they more or less cancel the final boss fight.
Huh.
Like, and again, like I would, at least to me, not in like an anticlimactic way, but just into like you finally get to, the person who's been chasing you the first time, and she's like, "Oh, this is what you're doing? All right, nah, just you can go."
Huh.
So I don't know. I'm interested to see where they go, but other than that, lots of flipping out ninja style. I think I said previously I unlocked a spellbook weapon because, Warframe doesn't need to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's really all I've got.
Huh. Where are you at in your Elden Ring play?
Oh yeah, so Elden Ring, let's see. I've I beat the first Legacy dungeon.
Stormvale. You
Correct,
beat
yes.
Mr. Many Arms, Godric.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think I actually managed to get that done on like first or second try, which was interesting.
Yeah.
It turns out, at least so far, the secret to this game is just put points in vitality.
It's hard to go wrong with vitality. It buys you room for mistakes. Also, like Godric, for as much as he is shock and awe, especially with that second phase, I do not think that Godric is harder than Margit.
Right.
So, like, if you can get in the door of Stormvale, I think that you necessarily have what you need in order to beat the boss of Stormvale.
Yeah.
I feel like
I go on. Sorry.
I feel like I'm an exception where I had a hard time with that. Like I had to come back for Godric, but I don't know. I had a real bear of a time with that entire dungeon.
I do feel like I'm definitely seeing there's certain enemies that. So like by the point of, basically the way I've played my character so far is I put in enough points to be able to equip the biggest weapon I can find and then put everything else in vitality. And partially I think this is a element of the game, having so many bosses because of the open world, but I'm definitely noticing that they're just straight up bosses that if you're capable of face tanking are just kind of trivial to beat.
Yeah.
And I would say Godric, I mean, it would be something of an exaggeration to say that, but there is a degree to which, like, it's, he doesn't have a lot of punish moves and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I'm then made it to the boss of it's the Hogwarts. What's it called?
The Academy of Raya Lucaria.
Right, which as I understand it, is like the boss fight that comes right before unlocking respecs.
Yes.
However, when I got there, there was no summon sign, which is kind of my indicator that, hey, you need to go, advance someone's side quest enough to get them to be available for summon. So I'm now going and advancing Big Witch Hat Lady.
Our name.
Rita?
Yeah, Ronnie. Ronnie. Yeah.
Yes.
So I will say this, Renala does not have a story summon.
Okay. The wiki suggested she did.
Oh, I just did a search on that, and I am not seeing one. It is in dispute. But you went up to, okay.
It could be I'm about to fight a different boss than what I thought. I don't know.
Oh, shit. You're thinking of did you fight the Red Wolf of Radigan? Because that is a boss that is on the way to Renala.
That could be.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a lot of R names in this game, I'm coming to realize.
Yeah, it's G's, R's, and M's.
It is Norse inspired, right?
Yes. Also, the basic story and character outlines were done by George R.R. Martin, so that's why you have G's, R's, and M's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man, sorry, I'm not going to go on this tangent, but I read a really interesting article recently, kind of deconstructing his versus Tolkien's understanding of
human nature,
basically medieval politics.
Okay.
And basically the argument is that despite George R.R. Martin intending to be Mr. gritty realism, his stuff is just dramatically less realistic to how a feudal kingdom works than most of Tolkien's stuff.
It's I mean, a lot of Game of Thrones is, especially around the midpoint, is explicitly like global war on terror coded, like very specifically.
I feel like those are two camps where you're not going to get an objective take out of either one.
You're right.
Yeah, the basic argument was if you're trying to run a kingdom via vassals, you can't be a blatant asshole or you'll just get murdered.
Right. I mean, that's
like
that's
was
the lesson of Crusader
thrust
Kings.
Of it. Yeah, that was the thrust of it. Like,
yeah.
But anyway, sorry, that's either there. So so continuing that, and then doing a lot of exploring. I made it to the Great Lift, but I need, I think, one more key or something to unlock it. One more half of the
Dectus medallion. Yeah.
It's the thing from Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah.
And apparently there's some like side way to get into it that I haven't decided if I actually care about doing or not.
It's content. I would say it is more interesting. I do not know that you want to go up there before you progress Ronnie's quest and head to Kale for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the game will tell you if you're going the wrong way or have gone out of bounds of what your level can handle.
Yeah.
See, I'm actually finding, strangely enough, and I now kind of want someone to build a Souls-like around this. I'm having the most fun when I'm just figuring out ways to cheese enemies.
Yeah. That's a good portion of the game. I like that too. And that just goes to my it goes to my saying, which is like a game's system is only as good as much as I can break it over my knee.
Oh yeah. And especially, I don't know, to me with the From themes of just humanity versus whatever, I like the idea of just being up against a world where the only way I'm beating this is by cheating as much as humanly possible.
Yeah. Emphasis on humanly.
Right. Or just, maxing out vitality. That works too.
You're never going to regret putting points of vitality. Don't neglect endurance, though. You don't have to put as much into endurance as you did in previous From games. But that still affects your equipment carry.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that is I would say the two criticisms I have of the game, such as they are, is one, it seems like the game is much stricter with equipment load, which makes it much more difficult, and with requirement stats, which makes it much more difficult to experiment with different weapons,
especially before being able to respec.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the other thing is, as much as I'm loving this, I'm not really convinced that the open world was actually a good idea. There
are trade-offs.
Yeah, I've noticed so much less emphasis on ambushes and tricks and traps and stuff like that compared to previous games.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things. I say this for a lot of series, but I think my ideal would be to see it kind of do like the Call of Duty thing. Have two teams, one that makes traditional From games and one that makes their weird open world stuff.
We got a little bit of that with Elden Ring coming out and then Armored Core 6.
True.
Yeah.
Although my understanding, Armored Core is basically like an arena game, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's mission by mission. It's not like they're
Right.
not building spaces. So it's an imperfect imperfect analogy.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we almost had that with Bloodborne if they would ever make another Bloodborne game, but
yeah, they're probably not going to.
which is too bad because that's
Yeah,
I know.
people would like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think without even, I would say none of the other games are even in the same ballpark in terms of quality, but that's just
Yeah.
me. But
Cool.
smacking things with the sword never gets old.
Yeah. So for me, I don't have anything additional to say about the 1996 Resident Evil. Like I streamed that over the past couple weekends, finished it. I've talked about that game to death. It was just good to go back and visit it now that it was put out on PC.
But now you can talk about it as a Crimson Head.
I would need to be defeated and end on a game over and then come back more powerful at the same point where I was defeated. Yes.
So I do have a question about this story.
Okay.
Is there any reason you can't simply like leave and come back with reinforcements?
So if you try to go out the front door, you get like a cutscene where you're mobbed by dogs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like you're way up in the mountains, very, very far away from any kind of, like pretty far from the city, like you had to get up there by chopper. And like the reason that people went up there to investigate was because of the, the people being found mutilated, in the woods up in the mountains.
And then the other thing I wondered is has there ever been any like explanation for why the voice acting is so incredibly bad? Because I mean,
90s?
most of the amateur voice acting I've heard is, just orders of magnitude better.
I have heard this, and go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say, it's the 90s and it's PlayStation 1, so I cut it a lot of slack, I guess.
Yeah, and it's endearing in its own way. But the explanation that I've heard that may or may not be contradicted by there was a history that was put out called Itchy Tasty, like an oral history of the development of the first Resident Evil, that may contradict this. But the popular explanation is that the performance director, the voiceover director, did not speak English and would not take any notes on delivery. From the actors. So they were working with English voice actors who were living and working in Japan, who would have the ability to say like, oh no, actually this would be said this way. And the communication only went one way.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that definitely could explain it.
Yeah. And after a certain point, when you're in the booth, you can only fight back so much,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the answer that I know. That might, there might be more information, but
Is the game in Japanese in Japan?
I don't think so. No, I think it's always been English voiceover.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. The other thing I've been playing, and this is going to come kind of out of left field, I've been playing Paper Mario: The Origami King.
Oh, have you played that before?
No, only Ben on the show has.
Yes. Yeah. I get it confused with Thousands Year Door, but everything's folded in this one, so that makes sense.
Yes. The reason I'm doing this is because we covered Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door on Watch Out for Fireballs. I think the episode, like part 2, is coming out the day before this episode comes out, so it's already out. And I was really bummed out by how much I didn't like it. The bones there are good. Like the combat system is interesting to a point. Like the world design could be neat if it wasn't so backtracky. But like the biggest thing that was a bummer was just how exhausting the writing and dialogue were. Like people remember it being this super charming and humorous thing. but it's actually super repetitive and makes a lot of the same jokes over and over again. And like the one overarching meta joke of Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door is, wouldn't it be funny if this took forever?
Mm.
You know, like, oh, so, you know, two of the people that you're, you know, traveling with in one chapter, they're a couple, and you know the woman is very fickle, and she says, you need to tell me you love me 100 times, and then you have to advance through 100 dialogue boxes of him saying I love you to her. It's just a bunch of shit like that. Shaggy dog stories, wild goose chases. It's a lot. So I was like, all right.
That's one of those things that I feel like sounds a lot better on paper.
Yeah.
Mario.
Yeah. And I've not played a Paper Mario game since Super Paper Mario, which I remember having some of that, but I don't remember being as bad. That said, I played Super Paper Mario back in like 2008, I think, 2008 or 2009. So I have no idea. I've got like I just had different amounts of patience back then, etc. So I was like, okay, I have Paper Mario Origami King because I had all the intentions of playing it when it came out. So I was like, all right, I just want to I want to pop this in and see if it has any of the same problems, right? I only have vague recollections of the discourse around it when it was new, and I remember things that you said about it, Ben. So I'm kind of coming into it fresh.
That's better than me. I don't remember what I said about
it. And I'm actually kind of happy to say that, like, at least so far, maybe like 2 hours in, that it is not falling prey to that same to those bugbears in Thousand Year Door. To which to say, I'm 2 hours in and I have not run into at least five characters who are grumpy old men who constantly repeat things wrong because they're hard of hearing and also stubborn. Like, that character is repeated over and over again in Thousand Year Door. Nothing is strung out to take forever. Like, the actual dialogue is kind of witty and has some teeth to it. And like, if there is incidental dialogue, it's not interruptive. It's a little bit like Paper Mario Wonder, which I know came later, but it's like, it's not like it stops you every time one of the flowers or whatever says, like remarks on something. It's just, oh, this little dialogue box pops up as you're passing by. It's meant to be like just like this kind of offhanded interjection that you may or may not catch. Whereas in a previous game, or like in the Mario and Luigi games, that would be interruptive and you would have to advance through like 5 boxes to get the same amount of information there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is good. I do not know if I'm going to play this to completion. I just wanted to see where that landed. The combat system with the like ring arrangement is interesting, but I do not know what the ceiling of complexity or engagement on that would be.
Yeah, it's this isn't really an accessible analogy, but there's a game called Forge War by the guy who made Gloomhaven, and there's just like weird abstract mechanic in it where of how you get resources, and it's like, I don't know why this is included in the game. It's like such a mismatch, and I kind of felt the same way about that in Paper Mario, where it's like I enjoyed it because it was a fun logic game or whatever, but it doesn't really track with the rest of the game.
It feels like they're trying to approximate like a little bit of a tactical thing where positioning matters, but it is just very much like this encounter can be solved in the opening move if you, within a time limit, arrange things so that you can take everyone out in one turn. Right. That is the early combat. I imagine once you get to bosses or whatever, like you get into things where you have to soak damage that is coming in. Things are going to be rearranged or whatever. I imagine that's where the tactical complexity comes in. I do not know that this arrangement is more engaging to me than like a traditional tactical kind of presentation would be, or like a traditional JRPG. Like, go back to Paper Mario, you've just got the active timing commands and like a stripped back version of like the Darkest Dungeon rank system mattering.
That would be pretty cool.
Oh, that's basically what you have in Thousand Year Door. and then they decided not to make another game like that. Yeah.
So it's not just you and one other person. You have like a whole party.
Yeah, like you've got you and your partner who is out at one given time, and you can swap out between them if you want to, and you're up against like a whole bunch of enemies who could be like flying or on the ground or, you know, spiked or have high defense or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised by it, and the aesthetic continues to be impeccable. It is very fun to see the origami papercraft version of standard Mario enemies, like some of the best creature design in games presented in very inventive ways. So I don't know, it's a fun little trifle. I think I'll get bored with it and move on, but I just wanted to get a check in and see where this was at and see if they're continuing to do the same exhausting shit with their dialogue. And it at least in my experience so far, it has not. So at the very least, we do not exist in a world where everybody loved the stuff that was exhausting and insisted that the team do that over and over again, despite my protests.
I think if I remember correctly, I can't remember if the game is long or if it just feels like it's long. And I think I dropped it before I got anywhere near the end.
Yeah. But I don't know. I've got other stuff on the Switch that I would like to dig into, but it's neat to get that pulse check. Any questions? Paper Mario, Origami King?
Nope.
Okay.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and then you answer it. Because Dennis is away, and Jolly is away, it fell to me to post post the question here. So I will just read what I said. Without naming a FromSoft or Souls DLC, what is your favorite expansion pack or very meaty DLC for a game, and why? Obviously inspired by Shadow of the Erd Tree and how massive it is. But yeah, I'm going to throw off and say, Moxie, what does Sean say?
Sean says, my favorite expansion is Blood and Wine for The Witcher 3. Witcher 3 was already my favorite game of the last generation, and the expansion gave me so much more, with a beautiful, lush area to explore and a very satisfying antagonist. The final interaction I got at the end of the expansion, which I won't spoil, was also pretty special and rewarding.
Blood and Wine is very special. I like that a lot. I know, Ben, you were Witcher 3 pilled. Did you play Blood and Wine?
I did not. I tried to pick it up, but it had been so long between when I played Witcher 3 and that. I didn't know the controls, and so I'm like, well, it'll live in mystery forever for me.
Prior to Shadow of the Erd Tree, I think Blood and Wine was the most meaty like DLC expansion, like the closest thing to approximating an expansion pack.
And that shit was free.
No, I think Blood and Wine was at cost. I believe it did. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, same thing with Hearts of Stone. It just, they very quickly put out a Game of the Year edition for Witcher 3. So, yeah. A lot of stuff was actually free for Witcher 3, but just not that one. Yeah. Moxie, what does Jeremy say?
Should I go again or should someone else?
Oh, no, Ben, what does Jeremy say? Sorry.
Jeremy says, we have rules now, responding to the no Elden Ring or no FromSoft stuff. The old Hunters DLC from Bloodborne. Real answer, Ghost of Tsushima Iki Island. Great DLC that explain a lot of the backstory and actually even better combat than the main game. One of my favorite open worlds of all time.
Yeah. Ghost of Tsushima totally flew under my radar. I see people cite it as being super amazing. I think you played it, Ben. Did you?
Yeah, I'd say I don't know if I'd put it super amazing, but I'd say it's like a good 8 or 9 out of 10. So it's solid. Yeah.
I think the Iato system is really well done.
What is that?
Oh, the quick draw.
The quick draw.
Yeah. Huh. No, and that DLC came out with the black and white filter that makes things look like Kurosawa film.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I always like when games do that. Let's see. And yeah, the reason I put the restriction, like no FromSoft or Souls stuff on here with our audience, that would be the only answer we got. And I want people to dig a little bit deeper, I guess. So I'll pick up with David, who says, I would have to say either Cataclysm for World of Warcraft, because it made every spec for every class much more viable way early in the game, and also all of the quality of life changes, or Path of Fire for Guild Wars 2. The addition of mounts and designing maps around their movement capabilities made exploring the new zones so much fun, and it was also my favorite storyline in the game. Cataclysm also changed the base game of WoW, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, it was. That's the one that had some almost post-apocalyptic stuff going on, so there were just like devastation in random portions of the base game.
Yeah. I think that's the last of them that I played. I pretty much dropped off because most of them were end game content, but Cataclysm had I forget what new race they introduced, maybe goblins, that were pretty fun. And then Guild Wars 2, I didn't realize mounts were a late addition. Also, wasn't Guild Wars 2, I'm just asking questions of Moxie today because you're the one person who's played more MMOs than all of us.
Ironic.
Guild Wars 2, like that already had some like platforming kind of stuff in the world exploration, right?
Guild Wars 2 had a bunch of platforming and a bunch of weird weird levels. So like one of my favorite is there's a dungeon where your entire party, you just get turned into fish and like have to swim around and like dodge sharks and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty heavily into weird stuff like that. I want to say it also, even before this, had some like siege engine gameplay and stuff.
Huh.
Man, yeah. I would love to go back to Guild Wars 2. That's a great game.
Ben's silence.
What? Never heard of this game. Sorry.
Moxie, what does Scott Michael say?
Scott Michael says, my biggest issue with expansions or DLCs has always been that they either get released well after I've moved on to another game, after I've burned myself out on that style of game entirely and don't want to play anything familiar for a long time, or possibly the worst case scenario of all, they throw a beeping collar bomb on us that is triggered by radios. One expansion that I still managed to have way too much fun with was Red Dead Redemption's Undead Nightmare, because it felt so lighthearted compared to the base game. Giggling out loud at how silly it was, in contrast to me shaking from the gut punch of the main story's finale, were two incredibly different and all-time memorable experiences from the same game. It's probably not often that you can say that of a zombie story from 2010 didn't feel like a cheap cash grab. Also, I was going to mention how the additional content in the Binding of Isaac expansions somehow made an already super addicting game even harder to put down, but whenever I start to think about that one for too long, I get to urge to play it all over again for days at a time. It's a good thing that I stopped before I... Oh no.
It begins! So the beeping collar explosion thing, that is a reference to Dead Money, the first of the DLCs for Fallout New Vegas.
Oh.
Yes. And I cannot hear about Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare without thinking about my experience trying to stream the PS3 version.
Oh, no.
Which has a bug that was never fixed, where just out of nowhere, the zombies will start showing up without any heads. Therefore, you cannot kill them. And they just keep on coming back and getting up, and the game is unwinnable.
Well, that sounds like a different genre of game baked in there.
It does, yeah. What if we made a game that doesn't work? Bold and unpredictable. And Ben, what does Lilith say?
Lilith says, I would have to say the Phantom of Liberty DLC for Cyberpunk 2077. Not only does it have a spy thriller story that I love, it also fixed several issues in the original game and really expands on the relationship between V and Johnny in an interesting way.
Yeah. I feel like I missed the boat by completely abandoning Cyberpunk after its botched launch. I about said boxed lunch. I'm tired.
You've seen the anime though, right?
No. Edge Runner?
Okay, yeah, no, that's the important part.
I hear it's good. I know. Yeah, so I do not have any basis for which to comment on this other than that lines up with things that I've heard people say. Yeah.
Same.
For me, I think like this is so weird to say because it's not an expansion that I played a lot of the material from because it was so like late level, but like the one okay, so it's probably a split between Scars of Velius and Shadow of Lucklin for EverQuest, the original. Scars of Velius being the one that you go to. You go to like an Arctic continent that has this big struggle between a bunch of different kind of factions. There's like a dragon faction and a dwarf faction and a giant faction, and like the quests and your kind of alliances, like where you can go, are determined by who you can ingratiate yourself to, kind of stuff. Like I didn't get super far into that, but I like poked around way higher level zones than I should have, and it felt like really mysterious and dangerous, and I still love reading the lore from that era, you know? Nice. And then Shadows of Lucklin is the one where you go to the freaking moon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That one was interesting just because, like, the moon
Those furries are from the moon.
They are from the moon. Like, it was its own starting zone, not just for the Vashir, the cat people, but, like, you could start a character, you know, on Earth, go to the Nexus, and then just, like, do a completely separate progression up on the moon by getting yourself into there. And again, just like the weird and alienating way that game presented its lore and made you feel completely stranded and alone if you were more than like a zone out from a city. Like that feeling was so strong there, and I have a lot of affection for it. And I think that it is meaningful that like that was around the time where I started like breaking away from the game. It was like after that with the Planes of Power expansion and fast travel became more available, and they started taking quality of life into account, which is good for a lot of people, but not for me.
Planes of Power was just straight up end game, right?
Yes. Yeah. Everybody could get into the plane of knowledge and get access to the warps and stuff, but you had to be like epic level in order to get into any of the higher level zones, and all of it was raid content.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, not for me. Yeah. Let's see, Moxie, how about you? Favorite expansion or meaty DLC?
Well, so a question. Do the standalone whatever you want columns for the Far Cry games count?
I'm going to allow it. It's an edge case, but...
Yeah, so I think all of those have been pretty great. In particular, New Eden, the post-apocalyptic game, was just excellent.
That's 5.5, right?
Yeah, it was the Montana one.
Yeah. So that's the one after 5.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say
5 was
Blood Money.
Yeah. 5 was hot shit. So like, it helps that they actually did something useful with that.
Okay.
It also, in my opinion, has a lot of great characters and does a lot of really endearing things with some of the characters. In particular, the Herc, who is kind of the comic relief character across 3 through 5. Basically, arrives in the game and has a son who's a infant, and they get a lot of mileage out of just having this character still be a complete doofus, but like now be like a committed, caring parent. That's actually kind of sweet. And just there's just a bunch of funny things they do with some of the characters. You get superpowers, and that's always fun. It's just really, really well done. Does a lot with that, and like I said, it kind of salvages a game that I truly hated.
Yeah. Far Cry 5. What if a game didn't say anything?
Yep.
Yeah. Ben, how about you?
I'm gonna avoid like the technical answers where it's like this DLC was a whole separate game or whatever, and say the one that I feel like is the best answer is the XCOM Enemy Within, and that's because the context is like I played that game first, and then I went back to try to play the original XCOM, and it was like, oh, this is not a complete game. Like this doesn't have like the end game boost for your characters. Like what am I doing here? So yeah, that I think that is an example of the DLC is like practically necessary for the game.
Just utterly transformative.
Wasn't that kind of the case in XCOM 2?
Yeah, War of the Chosen, I think, elevates it. A lot of people think. We're currently doing that for Watch Out for Fireball, so I will tell you when we get there. But
man, that's got to be a tough one to do for Watch Out for Fireballs, just because it's so difficult. And so easy to tank a run.
I'm not doing Iron Man mode, and I'm gonna be exercising extreme save hygiene, so I don't lose. So I don't lose progress. So
or sleep.
Yes, it's gonna be rough enough. Yeah, good answer. I didn't even consider those with that. Thank you, everybody, for participating. If you would like to throw in on the multiplayer, you can go to the Duckfeed community group on Facebook and watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons. The end boss. Now it's time for the end boss, where we talk about the things that are happening in the world of video games and how they make us feel. David, you scooped my story, so I had to find another one. What the fuck is Microsoft doing?
Yeah, so the short version is they are upping the price on Game Pass. So Game Pass Ultimate is going to be increasing by $3 to $19.90 to $20 a month. Or on PC, it's increasing by, I guess, just $1 to $12 a month. However, kind of more odd, they are going to be introducing a new tier that will not include day one releases. One of the other things with this is it seems like the new tier is kind of going to replace what they call like Game Pass console, which I'm told is what people who still have Xboxes get to play online. The weird thing is, like, until that point, there's going to be a period of time when you just can't buy Game Pass console. So that seems weird, but it seems like this is apparently part of the fact that they're going to be releasing Black Ops 6 as a day one release on Game Pass.
And they very specifically in the court filings and in their arguments for the acquisition of Activision said that this is not an anti-competitive practice because, people will be able to play the new Black Ops, will be able to play the new Call of Duty day and date without extra cost.
Right.
So
which
that was a lie.
As long as they get the new pass for it.
Yeah. I'm not that much of a business head. I don't have your technical education in these kind of matters. But if you study the greats, your Jobses, your Musks, your Elizabeth Holmeses,
Your Scarellis.
yeah, your Shkreli's, what you learn is you need to make things as complicated and difficult to communicate to the consumer as possible.
It's like when you're flurried with too many choices, you just buy something, and
That's right. Like, if you present somebody with enough tiers, what people do is they will just take out their wallets and then throw it as far as they can in your direction.
Oh yeah, it's a self-defense mechanism.
Yeah. This is wild because as long as Game Pass has existed, it has been being able to play these new games day and date. Was the pitch.
Well, the other thing that's weird to me, and I saw someone describe this as enshittification.
Yeah.
Which at first I felt like, I don't know. I feel like enshittification, I more associate that with technical degrading. But the more I think about it, to me, a lot of what Game Pass represented was just goodwill for Microsoft, just being hey, we're not gonna, nickel and dime you. We're just gonna provide this great service that you can just, without thinking, sign up for this and you'll have great games to play. Yeah. And this seems like them kind of admitting hey, we no longer care what the consumer thinks of us.
Right, because we have, kind of, I don't know,
we've attracted enough people.
Yeah, we've attracted enough people that we can now start extracting value from them, exploiting them. And that is enshittification to a T. Right? Yeah, exactly. It's not just technical, technical crumbling. It is, bad and misguided business decisions as well.
100%. I will say that just as a moot point, there's probably enshittification in the software as well, because when you start lobbing on features like this where it's not every game's available now there's a tiered pass, it's you do get degradation of software as well.
Yeah, and just looking at the numbers, so do you want to play on both PC or do you want to play on PC or console? Do you want to be both PC and console with the day and date or without the day and date? Sorry, this combination doesn't have the day and date, but this one does. So you might want to get that one, but you cannot get the exact one you want. So you might need to subscribe separately. It's just way too many different combinations to account for. When the simplicity of Game Pass was, again, part of the pitch. What this feels like is Microsoft looking at all of these streaming companies offering different tiers for with ads and without ads, and saying probably doing as much research as they could into ways to force ads into the game experience on subscription, and then deciding, well, our equivalent of that is going to be the first day releases. What's important is that we add this complexity and get people to default to the highest option.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I feel pretty indifferent towards this because I've always been anti-Game Pass, but...
Yeah, I unsubbed from Game Pass back when Microsoft closed all those studios.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. I mean, where do you come down on this, Moxie?
Game Pass is a significant portion of what I play, although I do feel like this is... I feel like there has been a definite loss of quality in that there's been less and less games I've been excited about they've been adding. Mm-hmm. Also, I don't know. I don't know what the environment or whatever looks like for Xbox, because $20 a month on PC, there are routinely great indie games that are less than $20.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but maybe that's not the same thing on Xbox.
Yeah.
When they break Dennis, we know they're beyond the pale.
Blah. Yeah, this is wild. But then again, Sony did something really similar with it's PlayStation Plus, but PlayStation Plus Gold, PlayStation Plus Platinum. Now
Charge
it's
for
premium
online
and standard.
multiplayer.
Yeah, it's just I don't know, man. I feel like more people should be lighting trash cans on fire and throwing them through windows.
I just don't know why people choose this as a business model. Like the end game of our business model is everyone feels hurt and betrayed by us.
Yeah.
But we got our money.
The funny thing, this was actually the more optimistic, like uplifting story. My plan B was a story just documenting like, why are there not video game layoffs in Japan? It basically boils down to they actually have labor protections.
Yeah. There's no such thing as at-will employment. Like mass layoffs are illegal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Ben, uplift me with the story that made my breath catch when I saw it posted. Yeah.
This is I guess I never realized that Satisfactory was still in early access, but they announced this last week that they are going to release 1.0 this year. And so they released a roadmap to what that looks like and kind of what's going on beyond that. And so basically they have, I think, 2 more releases, like update 8 is already out, and update 9 may already be out or may not. I don't know. I haven't kept up with it. And then in addition to this, they've been upgrading to Unreal Engine 5. And so they're going to combine all this stuff together, do beta testing, and then release a 1.0, is at least what they have announced so far. I don't think they've like listed explicitly what's going to be in it, but I think you can kind of glean most of it from like the most recent updates. Yeah. Anyway, again, this just came as a surprise to me because I was like, oh, I didn't know 1.0 wasn't already released. But I think I had a friend talk about this where he was like very worried about them never ever releasing a 1.0. So he was very excited to hear that they were. They're adding bathrooms is one thing they announced.
I don't understand why.
The announcement trailer for this, in fact, was just showing the bathroom feature. And then at the very end of it, it's like, oh, 1.0 is releasing in August. So it's like that part was pretty funny. But yeah, anyway, Satisfactory. I'm sure I'll go back and lose a week or two to it at some point in time. So
yeah, even when it first hit early access back in 2019, I think there was enough there for me to lose like 60 hours to it. And I've not really played it since. Basically, I reinstalled it because I was considering taking it to watch out for fireballs because I love that game a lot. And I saw that it wasn't 1.0 and there was no like end game to it. To like the story content or whatever. So I was like, yeah, it's not a good fit. And I just decided to wait until there was a 1.0. So yeah,
the tube cannon really changes the meta of the game for the mid game. So
I'm excited. Like I'm super excited because I think things maxed out at nuclear power when I was playing. Yeah.
Yep.
This is news most welcome.
I think every time I've quit this in the past has been when I've like upgraded the space elevator and seen what the requirements are for the next one. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm out, chief.
Yeah, later. Bye-bye. My story is more of just an oddity than anything. So who here knows about the movie Food Fight?
No, I
think
not.
I've heard of it. Go on.
Food Fight is a terrible CGI movie that is ostensibly made for kids, but is one big Holocaust joke in terms of what it's actually doing.
Wait, define joke.
It's a big riff on like what if so the characters are supposed to be like brand mascots for food and like grocery kind of things, and what if the store brand coming in and consigning all of the name brand characters into obscurity was this big Holocaust metaphor kind of deal. What if the main character was a talking dog Private Eye voiced by Charlie Sheen? It's a real mess. In addition to being extremely cheap, it was planned to come out in 2003 and only released in 2012, and was a massive flop after they lost all of the licenses, and so they had to kind of change names and graphics and stuff in it. And actually, the funding for it was through fraud from a firefighter's insurance fund.
Oh my god! I looking at the Google page, it says budget 45 to 65 million, box office $73,000.
Yes, it is one of the most infamously bad movies to have ever been put out. And I knew that there was a PS2 version of it, kind of hinted at some point. It was shown at E3, like there was like a teaser or a pitch kind of demo shown at E3 in 2006, and then it just disappeared as the movie was languishing. But more details have come out, published on a blog called Mimiohead. Just this person found people who were working on it and got access to like concept art and internal screenshots, kind of things. So if you want to learn about if you want to learn about like the production of this, that is now available for you. One of the lead developers says, I didn't know it ever came out as a movie. I expected it never would. When I was brought on it, there was a level or two that were playable sort of on the Wii. After a few milestones, it became clear that this game was unlikely to be completed. I think it was going to be Wii, PS, and Xbox. It was pretty clear to me that it was not going to get done without more money or more time. So it's one of the few things where the video game was done before the video game would have taken less time than the movie to come out, and so it was abandoned. So I don't know. I just think that this is a very interesting curiosity, that more information has been found about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a good casting that Charlie Sheen's the main character.
Yeah. They've got the cast is weird.
I think the production
have
matches
Nicolas
that volatility.
Cage? Because that sounds like it would be great.
Does it what?
I have Nicolas Cage, because that sounds like a great fit for him.
No, it does not. Christopher Lloyd voices the villain, which is real strange. What was he said earlier, Ben?
I was going to say the production of the game or the movie sounds about as volatile as Charlie Sheen. So,
yes, yeah. Did you know he had his like his big like mental break, like when he had his little surge of outbursts back in 2011? Did you know that the first one that he did was on InfoWars?
I did not know.
It was him making an appearance on Alex Jones's show on InfoWars, where he started doing all of the Vatican assassin stuff, obviously out of his mind on cocaine. And every subsequent appearance that he had on more reputable outlets was people asking him on to elaborate what he said on InfoWars. You can listen to it. Like there's an episode of Knowledge Fight about it, about that particular episode. It's nuts.
Yep, that sounds pretty crazy.
Yeah. I just recommend Knowledge Fight in general. Probably my favorite podcast out right now. So that is all of our stories. How do you all feel about buttoning it up?
The credit.
It is too hot in Seattle, so I'm not buttoning anything up.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're just going indefinitely.
Thank you so much for listening to level number 507. We really appreciate you taking the time. I do not want to delay Ben turning on his AC anymore, so I will just say, the stuff that you can do to help us out. Patreon, Facebook, reviews, all of that stuff. Come back next week. I would appreciate it, and I think you would too. Is there anything I'm forgetting? Okay. I've been Kole Ross. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Kole Ross.
I'm Moxie.
I've been Ben Merkel.
And stick around for some titles.
yeah, titles.
Boy, I hope somebody wrote down a title. Hey, Moxie, did you write down titles?
No, my vote is just, we call it Untitled.
We've already done that.
Have we?
Yeah.
Look, I've been away a while. I've forgotten how this works. I got an excuse.
Okay. I will pull something from the transcript.
And AI to figure out a title for us, Cole.
Yeah, I'll probably do that. I dropped the ball. I should have written something down. Were there memorable high points for any of you in the episode? Like funny bits? Anything? Oh God, we were just all getting through it. Oh no.
I'm still floating somewhere around like existential dread for the future. Okay. That's kind of where I'm skating.
That might have been off. That might have been offline or
off.
Oh
no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in general.
That's where your head's at.
That's where my head's at.
Just the danger. Yeah. Huh. Well, I'll
just title the episode "I Love You 100 Times."
Okay, there we go. That's a title.